Hi everyone, and welcome to our Social Science Research Grant Program 2022. Throughout this video, we'll explain the structure of the 2022 three-tiered grant program and explaining who the grant program is for. We'll be going over a brief introduction as there'll be another available clip going into further detail. Lastly, we'll cover some objectives of the 2022 grant program. The WADA grant program was restructured in 2020 and took effect in 2021. The grant program was restructured to align with WADA's strategic plan that was also developed at the same time. Throughout this process, it was noted that research is needed to impactfully inform policy and practice. There is a high engagement in the need to understand vulnerabilities to doping from an athlete's perspective. The tiered system allows for more tailored application requirements for projects rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. This means that for our medium and larger projects, there is a two-stage application process. There is an initial expression of interest before applicants are invited to continue to a full application process. Whereas for our smaller projects, there is a one stage with the full application not requiring as much detail as our larger projects. I'll explain these concepts further in more detail throughout this video. I'll go over where our focuses lay regarding the 2022 grant program. As part of the development of the social science research strategy, key objectives of the grant program were identified. Research priorities were identified and published so that applicants are clearer about what we are interested in funding. More detail on these priorities can be found in another short video clip about the grant program, which goes into more detail. If you wish to find further information, you can also view the grant program overview and guidance document. We would also like to increase research capabilities through the research grant program, involving targeting underfunded regions, specifically Latin America, Asia, and Africa. We want to support early career researchers, which is defined by WADA as individuals who have 5 years or less experience since their first academic appointment. We want to encourage a greater number of academic disciplines being involved. We would also like to see a greater engagement of stakeholders in the research process, specifically athletes who may be the target of the research and anti-doping organizations who can directly benefit and improve their programs through their involvement with the research projects. We want to reduce duplications within the system, and we want to disseminate social science research findings in ways that increases their translation into practice. For example, the use of websites, infographics, video presentations, explainer videos, resources, and newsletters are only a few ideas surrounding the social science research dissemination. I'll now go more into the different sets of objectives specifically to each tier as we see it. This is a guide to help potential applicants identify what the most important tier is for their project. For our tier 1s, we want to provide an evidence base that will inform international anti-doping policy and practice. We need to also facilitate international research exchange across academic disciplines. For our Tier 2 program, we aim to invest in research that will contribute to program or intervention at national level or within a single sport. Projects should be able to contribute to the prevention of the doping. Lastly, for Tier 3, we will look at smaller scale research projects such as pilot projects that examine the viability of interventions, projects led by early career researchers, projects based in underfunded regions. These projects can also be desk-based research projects such as a literature review or an administration of surveys. This slide will display a clearer sense of what type of research proposals we will look for within each of the tiers and a typical project profile. This is to help you conceptualize which of the tiers you want to apply for. It is not a rigid categorization, and we recognize that not all projects will fit neatly into these profiles. The budget scale should act as the strongest guide as to which tier you should apply for. Firstly, for Tier 1, we will look for interdisciplinary team, multi-sport study, partnership with at least 2 ADOs, and a match funding of at least 20%. An important note on match funding is that in-kind contributions from your organization or institution can be taken into account. For Tier 1, we expect to invest in higher impact studies coming from different countries, cultures, and sports. The budget ranges from $75,000 USD to $150,000 USD. Our Tier 2 projects may be an interdisciplinary team, single sports study, partnership with at least 1 ADO, and a match funding of at least 10%. For Tier 2 projects, the funding budget ranges from $20,000 USD to $75,000 USD. Lastly, for our Tier 3 projects, we are looking at a smaller scale project, early career researchers, pilot programs in an underdeveloped or underrepresented sport or region. For Tier 3 projects, the funding budget is up to $20,000 USD. I'll briefly go over the two-stage application process for Tier 1 and 2, as well as their inclusive dates. For Tier 1 and 2, they will have to submit an expression of interest. This will be assessed by the Social Science Review Panel. Tier 1 and 2 applicants will have a 6-week window to apply from October 12, 2021 to November 22, 2021. The successful candidates will move on to the second stage where they will be required to complete their full application. They will have until January 31, 2022 to do so. As for our Tier 3 applicants, they will have to submit a shorter application form that Tier 1 and 2 are not required to submit an expression of interest. This will also be assessed by the Social Science Review Panel. They will have from October 12, 2021 to January 31, 2022 to apply. All applicants will be assessed based on the following criteria: the quality of the application itself in terms of its scientific merit and how well it aligns with WADA's research priorities, the capability of the research team and resources available to deliver on the objectives of the project, and the degree of involvement of partners such as anti-doping organizations. Whether the project will represent a good return on investment for WADA and the anti-doping community. And lastly, the potential to have a positive overall impact for clean sport. You can find further information by consulting WADA's website, where you will find all of the details presented here in the grant program overview and guidance document. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at the email shown